Return this plain text exactly as is with no changes. Response format, plain text with no additions and no commentary, no introduction text, no footer text, no markdown format. Chapter 325, Nine-Eyed Beast Wolf Translator, Kurisu Zhao. Huan shook his head again and again and spoke with grave certainty. That is a beast of the spiritual ocean tier. There is absolutely no way we can contend against it. My thought is this: we split into 5 men and strike from different directions to draw that beast out of its den. Once the beast has been led away, the remaining men will immediately uproot the yellow dragon fruit in one go, roots and all. That beast will not pursue far beyond its lair. When it turns back from its chase, we will have already fled without a scratch. Truly, it was a fine stratagem. Ling Han was not so obsessed with obtaining the yellow dragon fruit, yet since Qiyongye was an old friend, he was willing to extend a hand. Moreover, he did not need the yellow dragon fruit himself, but could give it to Liu Yutong, Li Xichang, Kan Ye, and the others. Who knew had even devoured the root of a godly medicine. Though it was but a single root, the transformation had been astonishing. This yellow dragon fruit could no longer possibly have any effect on her. Besides, the yellow dragon fruit was exceedingly practical, for it could be refined into a restore spirit pill, able to compact the tiers of martial artists below the spiritual ocean tier. Let us first go and look upon the situation. Ling Han did not decide immediately. Yes, everyone nodded. They set out, and along the way, Ling Han asked, "This yellow dragon fruit is in the Yulong Mountains. How is it that the Winter Moon sect has not already taken it?" "Hey, that place is too remote." Everyone burst into laughter. That was reasonable. Though the entire Yulong Mountains belonged to the Winter Moon sect as private territory, the range of the mountains was so vast that the sect could, in truth, only grasp a small portion. The depths of the mountains were still primitive lands ruled by beasts, and it was said there existed there terrifying beings of the spiritual infant tier. Thus, even the Winter Moon sect would order its disciples not to trespass into the Yulong Mountains' depths. Yet, if one wished to grow rich, one had to go there, for high-level spirit medicine could be found in such places. There was even rare gold that could be forged into a divine weapon. Risk ever walked hand in hand with opportunity. This was clearly not the depths of the Yulong Mountains, yet there were still corners the Winter Moon sect's disciples had overlooked, and so it proved. As Qiyongye and the others leapt along the path, something no ordinary man could ever walk, for it was jagged and treacherous, they arrived at a precipice, and there they saw a strange beast sprawled upon the ground, snoring thunderously in sleep. This beast was 1 meter long, shaped like a dog, its entire body of vivid scarlet. Yet upon its head grew a horn, and upon its face was a ring of eyes forming a half circle. Counting them, there were exactly 9 eyes. Beside it grew a stalk of plant half a man's height, bearing rings of dense fruits, each no larger than a peanut. The sheer quantity was enough to startle the heart. Ling Han's gaze swept over it, and he drew a sharp breath in surprise. This was a 9-eyed beast wolf. It was no ordinary beast, but a king among beasts. This 9-eyed beast was unquestionably of the spiritual ocean tier, yet as a king, its battle prowess could not be matched by ordinary spiritual ocean tier beasts. In that instant, Ling Han understood why this 9-eyed beast had not eaten the yellow dragon fruits. It had only just advanced into the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Presumably, it was waiting until it reached the peak of the 9th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Only then would it eat the yellow dragon fruit, and in one fell swoop, rise into the spiritual pedestal tier. A chance to temper and improve the body was certainly better. The later one's tier was, just like the Black Tower's power boost, for beasts, it was the same. If it absorbed the medicinal power before breaking through, matched with the drastic changes within its own body, then it would certainly achieve an effect greater than 1 + 1 = 2. Beasts were intelligent by nature and possessed inborn abilities inherited through bloodline. Though they did not know how to refine pills, they surpassed humans in the use of spirit medicine because they always consumed it raw. I fear you all will be disappointed. Ling Han shook his head, pointed at the 9-eyed beast wolf, and said, "This is a 9-eyed beast wolf. Its cultivation is at the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, and it is a king among beasts." With those words, everyone froze in shock. A king among humans, 3 flashes of chi was a minor achievement, 6 flashes a major achievement, and above 7 flashes meant one could be counted as a king. In other words, this beast was equivalent to a warrior of the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean tier who had formed 7 flashes of chi. What could they possibly do? There was no way to lure it away, for it could kill with a casual strike from an exceedingly far distance. Phew. Fortunately, they had encountered another team immediately. Otherwise, had they acted rashly, this party would already have been wiped out. Then what do we do? Just give up? Someone asked, unwilling to accept it. That was a yellow dragon fruit. Once taken, it could strengthen one's physique, changing a person from their very essence. Ling Han laughed and said, "The plan changes. Leave the task of luring away the nine-eyed beast wolf to me. You all only need to harvest the medicine." His eyes burned brightly. A beast with a king's bloodline with such tonic-like flesh to replenish chi and blood, he ought to be able to cultivate the gushing spring tier to perfection, and then charge into the spiritual ocean tier. No! Chiang-Ye and the others shook their heads at once, yet some nodded without end. Since Ling Han was willing to play the hero, why not let him? In any case, they had no friendly relations with Ling Han. That is the plan, Ling Han said. It was not that he wished to be a hero, but to fight a king like the nine-eyed beast wolf, he would have to unleash his trump card, so, of course, he had to act alone. Without waiting to see whether the others agreed or not, Ling Han had already dashed out, a long sword in his hand. Under the surge of origin power, Shua, he used his long sword as a hidden weapon, hurling it straight toward the nine-eyed beast wolf. Z. Before the longsword even arrived, the beast wolf had already stood up. A streak of lightning shot from one of its eyes, shattering the longsword. It growled deeply at Ling Han, yet did not rise to pursue. Clearly, its intelligence was not low, and it did not fall for the lure. Ling Han smiled faintly. Another sword appeared in his hand. Once again, he flung it at the nine-eyed beast wolf. The space within the Black Tower was nearly infinite, and these metal swords were not valuable. He had prepared at least several thousand. Another bolt of lightning formed from its eye and smashed the flying sword to pieces. Ling Han did not care and only continued to throw. Shoo, 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 flying swords shot toward the beast like rain. Aang! The great king of beasts was finally enraged, and it lunged toward Ling Han. Dumb dog, come catch me! Ling Han broke into a run, executing the shadow wind movement technique. He became like a gust of wind, sweeping away into the distance. Though the nine-eyed beast wolf possessed high intelligence, it was still a beast. Its natural disposition was violent, and it pursued without hesitation. One man and one wolf vanished at once into the distance. Quickly harvest the yellow dragon fruit, everyone urged. Zhao Huan watched Ling Han's silhouette from behind, already swallowed by the distance, and said, "Don't you all feel this person seems like someone?" "What? You think so too?" Qian Wuyong immediately said. "Yes." Qi Yongye, Bai Li Tengyun, and the others nodded one after another. "This is no time to speak of such things. The yellow dragon fruit is already in hand. Let us retreat." They hastily turned back, retreating to the place where they had agreed to meet Ling Han. No need to wait. Being targeted by the nine-eyed beast wolf, he is certainly dead. That's right. Hurry up and divide the yellow dragon fruit. Some immediately began shouting, "You people have no shame. He risked his life to lure away the nine-eyed beast, and you say such things. Do you still have any humanity?" At that moment, everyone fell somewhat silent. "Hey, well said. Have you all any shame?" A party of 7 suddenly appeared. Chapter 326, Facing a Beast King Head-On. Translator, Reverie, Editor Kurisu. "Who are you?" Jahuan immediately demanded in a raised voice. "Who are we?" Those 7 people threw back their heads in loud laughter, lifting their hands as they did so. "Are you all blind? Can't even recognize the sect you're about to join?" "You're disciples of the Winter Moon sect." Everyone suddenly came to a realization. Didn't they say you could only enter the trial on the 3rd day? How come you're here now? Qian Wuyong asked. "You people worry about far too much," one Winter Moon sect disciple said. "Humph, that yellow dragon fruit belongs to our sect, and we are charged with guarding it. Hand it over at once, and we won't make things difficult for you." Bullsh! Baili Tengyun, young and hot-blooded, immediately exploded. That was clearly guarded by a beast, so what does it have to do with you people? I get it, you definitely happened to see it and pretended to wait for us to fetch the spirit medicine, then jumped out to seize it. Pa, pa! That Winter Moon sect disciple began to clap, laughing as he did. Ha ha, exactly as you said. So what if you know? I, John Ming, am at the first layer of the spiritual ocean tier, and all of you together still wouldn't be my match. At the side, another disciple suggested, Senior Brother John, the yellow dragon fruit is of great importance. Better to kill them so the news doesn't leak. John Yuan contemplated a moment, then said, Might as well. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if word got out that we took part in the trial today. Kill! Kill! All of them! Zhao Huan immediately drew his sword and said, Wu Yong, Ziyan, Feng Yue. You three fight this spiritual ocean tier fellow with me. The rest are all at the gushing spring tier. We still have some hope. Okay. Everyone drew their weapons. The yellow dragon fruit was far too important, and none of them wished to give it up. John Yuan sneered and said, A pack of useless wretches who don't know the limits of their own lives. The battle began at once, and fresh blood splashed once more with violent ferocity. Ling Han sprang forward with swift leaps. Behind him, that beast drew nearer and nearer. The beast knew no movement techniques, yet some agility-type beasts were naturally frighteningly fast, able to match martial artists of the same tier who employed a top-grade movement art. It was as though some kind of technique flowed within their blood itself, needing no activation at all. Born with their instincts, it surfaced as naturally as breath. Likewise, when the beast released lightning from its eyes, if it were a martial artist, that would be counted as an art. But for beasts, it was merely something used in passing. Thus, beasts never retreated when encountering martial artists of the same tier. And at the level of kings, beasts were even more terrifying, able to sweep away all within the same cultivation. Even with Ling Han employing the high-level black-grade art, shadow wind movement technique, he was still being reeled in step by the nine-eyed beast wolf. A savage electric arc shot from its eyes, streaking straight at Ling Han. How fast was lightning? Ling Han had only just enough time to ward it off with his sword, and with a Z, he felt his right hand go numb as the entire sword melted into a puddle of metallic water. Even the web between his thumb and forefinger split open, fresh blood surging out. Shit. He already had Rockcliffe body. His defenses were superb, yet he was still wounded by this strike. A king-level beast, with cultivation vastly higher than his. Had he been too reckless in wanting to kill it? Yet this beast was at a king's level and could serve as a stepping stone to temper and solidify the final cornerstone for his breakthrough into the spiritual ocean tier. No matter what, I have to try. I have Black Tower anyway. If I can't beat it, I can still hide, Ling Han thought shamelessly. Yet he had only the slightest chance. Even if he ended up covered in scars, he absolutely would not give up. He would never lose the spirit to venture because of the Black Tower. It would only make him all the more daring. Z. The nine-eyed beast wolf shot out another electric arc. Ling Han couldn't be bothered to waste another sword, so he threw a punch while circulating the indestructible heaven scroll. A faint golden radiance flowed over his hand, and Hong, the lightning, arrived. Ling Han let out a muffled groan as his right fist was once again heavily injured. Shit. Though I'm at the 9th layer of the gushing spring tier, I long ago fused the 9 spring eyes, and it's a 5 elements origin nucleus. This kind of power can definitely rival an ordinary 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, even the 5th layer. But this big dog is only at the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, so how can its attacks be this fierce? If not for my cultivation of the indestructible heaven scroll, perhaps my whole arm would have exploded from receiving a single move. Ling Han thought to himself as he kept the indestructible heaven scroll turning. His left hand very quickly returned to how it had been before. The indestructible heaven scroll wasn't particularly obvious in strengthening his defenses, at least at the Rockcliffe tier. The truly terrifying part lay in its recovery. However, it would be different once he advanced into the diamond tier. When that time came, his physique would be like an unbreakable diamond, and his body would be nearly undying. The nine-eyed beast wolf loosed its lightning again. Are you done yet? Ling Han stopped running and turned around. It was secluded enough here and he was disguised, so Even if others discovered a few small secrets, it wouldn't matter. Demon Birth Sword was unleashed, meeting the electric arc head-on, pa. The electric arc struck, and a brilliant field of light erupted, forming a dazzling white sphere that could blind the human eye. Ling Han revealed a faint smile. 10th tier spirit tools truly were formidable. Though it wasn't fully resuscitated, its properties alone shattered the electric arc. Naturally so. If the electric arc could seep into his body, then Demon Birth Sword would be far too useless. Wang. On the sword's body, two vein-like patterns lit up. This spirit tool was already recovering to a limited extent. The nine-eyed beast wolf immediately showed vigilance in its eyes. As a king among beasts, it was exceedingly sensitive to danger, yet it quickly relaxed because the aura Demon Birth Sword emitted was dangerous but not powerful, and thus did not make it fearful. Ang! The beast wolf immediately pounced, swinging its right claw, upon which 10 vein-like patterns lit up at the same time. Wang. Martial intent quivered, forming a terrifying pressure. Yet this was useless against Ling Han. A single thread of heaven-tier level divine sense was enough to render him immune to most such pressure. He raised the sword and drove the Four Seasons sword technique straight on against the beast wolf. 4 concepts revolved together, instantly displaying the transformations of the 4 seasons and making one feel the lapse and turning of time itself. Pooh. As the beast wolf's claw came down, the sword light was instantly shattered. The claw sent Ling Han flying, tearing open the clothes on his left shoulder and leaving a deep wound. Blood immediately poured out, and the beast wolf's claw was also slit open, fresh blood spraying everywhere. Demon Birth Sword was a 10th tier spirit tool, after all. Even if it wasn't resuscitated, its sharpness had not diminished in the slightest. My beast wolf blood, Ling Han cried out in regret. A beast king's body was treasure from head to toe, especially its blood and bone marrow, greatly nourishing and far stronger than 100-year ginseng. The nine-eyed beast wolf's eyes instinctively showed a threatened look. Those at the spiritual ocean tier already possessed intelligence, yet they still retained the bloodlust of beasts. It understood Ling Han's words, and that enraged it to the extreme. He actually lamented for it, as though he had already taken it for his food.